Good day everyone, my name is Graphics. Today we'll be looking at pressure, basically the units, the SI units of pressure, right? But before we go much into pressure, we need to understand what pressure is. We know very well that pressure is the force per unit area, and its SI unit is in Newton per meter square, or you say square meter. When we have one bar is equals to 10 raised to power 5 pascal. But we know very well that 1 pascal is giving us 1 Newton per meter square. So if I am to rewrite my 1 bar now, I'll write it as saying 10 raised to power 5 Newton per meter square. Is that okay? Now, we know very well that sometimes you might have some parameters that it might be in Newton per millimeter square, or kilonewton per millimeter square, or kilonewton per meter square. Now let's look at this 1 bar equals to 10 raised to power 5 Newton per meter square and see how we can convert it. Now if you look at the 10 raised to power 5, applying the law of indices here, I can make it to be 10 raised to power 2 multiplied by 10 raised to power 3 Newton per meter square, right? Now we know very well that 10 raised to power 2 is 100 and 10 raised to power 3 is 1000. Another way of writing 10 raised to power 3, which is 1000, is in kilo. So I can write it as saying that 1 bar is equals to what? 100 kilonewton per meter square, right? Now if 1 bar is giving us 100 kilonewton per meter square, we can also convert that kilonewton per meter square into kilonewton per millimeter square if we want to. How are we going to do that? Now look closely. If I should write my 100 kilonewton per meter square means divided by what? The meter square. And if you are converting meter to millimeter, you need to multiply by what? 1000, right? So I can write my 100 kilonewton per meter square as saying my 100 kilonewton all over what? 1000 millimeter, because 1 meter square is as 1000 millimeter. But because of the square, I'm going to square the 1000. So it means that what? 100 kilonewton over 1 million millimeter square. So if I divide it, I'm going to be having so that will give us 10 raised to power minus 4 kilonewton per millimeter square, right? So we can still go further if we want to, depending on you. Is that taken? Because if you look at the 100 there that we have, if I take it to a standard form or to a number in base 10, it will be 10 raised to power 2 times 10 raised to power what? Minus 4. Now if you apply your indices here, 2 minus 4 give us minus 2. So we can still say it is what? 10 raised to power minus 2 Newton per millimeter square, and so on and so forth. Now you might be surprised. Okay, let's take a good example now and see. Let's take 200 gigapascal. Let's convert 200 gigapascal into Newton per meter square, right? Now we have 200 gigapascal. 200 gigapascal. We know the word giga means 10 raised to power 9, right? So if I'm writing my 200 gigapascal, it's still saying that 200 gigapascal is saying 200 times 10 raised to power 9 pascal, right? And we know very well that if I want to convert it into pascal in Newton per meter square, we can write it as saying 200 times 10 raised to power 9 Newton per what? Per meter square, because pascal is also written as what? Newton per meter square. Now I want it to be in kilonewton per meter square. So if I move further, I will use my law of indices. I will say that 200 times 10 raised to power what? 6 times 10 raised to power what? 3 Newton per meter square. Now if you look at this now, I can still write it as saying 200 multiplied by 10 raised to power 6 multiplied by what? Instead of writing my 10 raised to power 3, 10 raised to power 3 since I'm saying kilo. So I'll write kn per meter square, kilonewton per meter square. So this is what we are having. When you convert 200 gigapascal to kilonewton per meter square, this is what you are going to be having, right? Now, if I want to now convert it to kilonewton per millimeter square, what will I do? Like I told you earlier, I can write it as saying the 200 times 10 to the power 6 kilonewton per means divided by what? The 1 meter square. Meter square means 1 meter square, right? So another way of converting from meter to millimeter, you need to multiply by what? 1000. So I can write this as saying 200 times 10 to the power 6 kilonewton all over 1000. But because the meter square has square, the meter has square, I'll put my 1000 to square, then I write millimeter square close to it, because I'm moving from meter square to millimeter square. So in writing this will give me 200 times 10 raised to the power 6 all over 10 raised to the power 3 to the power of 2 millimeter square. And 3 times 2 is giving us what? 6, right? So I'll be having 200 times 10 raised to the power 6 all over 10 raised to the power 6 millimeter square. Don't forget there's a kilonewton close to this here, right? So from here, 10 raised to the power 6 will equate 10 raised to the power 6. So we'll know that we'll be having 200 kilonewton per millimeter square. So another way of writing 200 gigapascal in kilonewton per meter square, it will be 200 kilonewton per meter square. In meter square, it will be 200 times 10 to the power 6 kilonewton per meter square. Now let's take one more example and see how this goes. If I have 200 bars, I have 200 bar, and I want to convert it to a value in newton per meter square or kilonewton per meter square. First of all, we know very well that 1 bar is 10 to the power what? 5 pascal. So I can write this 200 bar to be 200 times 10 to the power what? 5 pascal, right? Now in doing that, I can still break it down by saying 200 times 10 to the power 2 times 10 to the power what? 3 pascal. Because 10 to the power 2 times 10 to the power 3 in indices, if you add the power, you'll be having 5. So I'm not doing anything. I only applied the rule of indices here. Now, 10 to the power 2 is 100. Then 100 times 200 will give us 20. Will give us what? 2000. Right? So we're having 2000. Then the 10 to the power 3 is giving us kilo. So kilo. Then we have pascal. Right? And another way of writing will be 2000 kilo. Pascal means newton per what? Meter square. So you can write it as saying 2000 kilonewton per what? Per meter square. This is how you convert. So there are still more of ways at which you can convert pressure by changing their units. We'll just manipulate, interpolate between units, right? So if you have found this video helpful, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to click on the like button. Thanks for watching.